Psalm 72 is a prayer for the king. In it, we see that the people are asking God for a ruler that would rule rightly. And as they ask for a right ruler, they include three ingredients that they think will add up to that kind of leadership. First is that the ruler would pursue justice, especially for the poor and the needy. Second, that ruler would bestow life upon all they had responsibility over. And lastly, that ruler would have such power that all nations would serve him, so that the king could bless all nations. Well, let's look at the first 4 verses of Psalm 72, where the people are asking that their ruler would pursue justice. Endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son with your righteousness. May he judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice. May the mountains bring prosperity to the people, the hills the fruit of righteousness. May he defend the afflicted among the people and save the children of the needy. May he crush the oppressor. We see in these first 4 verses that a right ruler, a just ruler, a godly ruler, pursues justice for the poor and the needy. All throughout the scripture, we see that the poor and the needy are always looming large in the heart of God. And he asks those that follow and love him to bless and supply the needs for the poor and the needy, and to remove or to get out of the way any of those that seek to oppress and keep the poor and the needy down. That's the first ingredient that these people are praying for in this psalm, is that their ruler would pursue justice. But second, they ask that this ruler would bestow life upon all that he had responsibility for. We pick it up in verse 5. May he endure as long as the sun, as long as the moon through all generations. May he be like rain falling on a mown lawn, like showers watering the earth. In his days may the righteous flourish and prosperity abound till the moon is no more. We see that the king is being asked to be someone that bestows life upon all that he has responsibility for, that he would be like a fresh rain, invigorating and supporting a fresh lawn. The prayer for the king is that they would bestow life upon all that they have responsibility for. But lastly, we see that this is a prayer for the kind of king that would have such immense power that all nations would serve him, so that they would be blessed by the king. We see this starting in verse 8. May he rule from sea to sea, and from river to the ends of the earth. May the desert tribes bow before him, and his enemies lick the dust. May the kings of Tarshish and the distant shores bring tribute to him. May the kings of Sheba and Seba present him gifts. May all kings bow down to him, and all nations serve him. For he will deliver the needy who cry out, the afflicted who have no one to help. He will take pity on the weak and the needy, and save the needy from death. He will rescue them from oppression and violence, for precious is their blood in his sight. We see lastly that this king is to use his power to bless those under his care. And especially, again, we see this priority of care for the poor and the needy and the oppressed. Well, this is a tall order for any king. And what we find is that though this prayer and this hope for a king like that never died out, no earthly king ever lived up to these standards. But that is what formed their messianic hope. Their hope in Jesus, the true king that would one day live up to all of their expectations perfectly. We see that Jesus cared deeply about justice. In Matthew 25, we see Jesus radically prioritizing the poor and the needy and the oppressed and the widow and the orphan. And he says, when you give care to people like that, you actually express care and love for me. We see that, secondly, Jesus is the ultimate king because he bestows life and life to the full. We see that in John 10:10. And lastly, we see that Jesus has immense power. Philippians 2 tells us that one day every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord and King. And yet he is the kind of king that didn't come to be served, but to serve. See, in this royal psalm, we see the people crying out to God and asking for a ruler that would finally rule rightly through justice and life and power. And we see that that hope goes unmet in any earthly king, but is perfectly fulfilled in the person of Jesus Christ. That is a picture of what the Bible calls shalom, or peace. This whole sense of well-being, where everything is working as it ought. And so for you and me, I think where this lands is that we get to glimpse at what it looks like to have a peace of shalom here and now. It's leadership and lives marked by justice, by life, and by the wise wielding of power. My hope is that you and I take our lead from this psalm, that wherever we have influence over others in our lives, that we would pursue justice, that we would give life, and that we would wield our power in a way that blesses all of those that we are responsible for.